The wind howled like a banshee through the jagged peaks, carrying the scent of impending snow. Elias Thorne knelt before the weathered cross he'd carved himself, his calloused hands clutching the frozen earth as if to wrench his family back from it. "Why?" he whispered, his voice cracking like the ice underfoot. Tears froze on his bearded cheeks, mingling with the sleet that pelted his face. It had been 3 years since the avalanche stole his wife, Amelia, and their unborn child. 3 years of isolation in his mountain cabin, where the silence screamed louder than any storm. But tonight, the grief hit like a fresh slide, burying him anew. He pounded the ground, sobs racking his massive frame, until his knuckles bled. "I should have been there," he gasped, the words echoing into the void. In that moment of utter breakdown, Elias realized he couldn't go on like this, alone, haunted, unraveling. Desperation clawed at him. He needed help, even if it meant opening his world to a stranger. Elias trudged back to his cabin, the weight of his loss pressing heavier than the pack on his back. The structure loomed like a sentinel against the Montana wilderness, logs hewn by his own hands, a fortress against the world that had betrayed him. Inside, the fire crackled weakly, casting flickering shadows that danced like ghosts. He slumped into his worn armchair, staring at the empty kitchen where Amelia once hummed lullabies while stirring stew. "It's just survival," he muttered to himself, denying the ache that gnawed deeper each day. But the truth was undeniable. His hands, once steady with an axe, now trembled from malnutrition and neglect. He hadn't cooked a proper meal in months, subsisting on jerky and regret. The ad he'd placed in the Valley Town's Gazette was born of necessity. "Mountain man seeks cook. Room and board provided. No questions asked." He didn't expect much, perhaps a drifter or an old-timer down on luck. But the woman who arrived 2 days later was a storm in human form. Clara Voss, pregnant and veiled in whispers of scandal. The townsfolk called her the Black Widow behind her back. Her husband, a miner, had died in a cave-in 6 months prior, leaving rumors that she'd poisoned him for his claim. Elias didn't care. He needed meals, not morality. "You'll cook 3 times a day," he grunted, tossing her a key to the spare room. "Pays fair. Stay out of my way." Clara nodded, her dark eyes steady despite the swell of her belly. She was in her late 20s, with skin like polished ebony and a quiet strength that unsettled him. "I appreciate the work, Mr. Thorne," she said softly, her voice carrying a southern lilt that evoked memories of warmer places. As she unpacked her meager belongings, a Bible, a faded photo of her late husband, and spices wrapped in cloth, Elias retreated to his workshop, hammering nails into wood to drown out the intrusion. Denial cloaked him like the heavy furs he wore. "She's just help," he told himself, ignoring how her presence stirred the air. But as days blurred into weeks, the pain seeped through. Clara's cooking was a revelation. Rich stews simmered with herbs he'd forgotten existed, cornbread golden and warm. Yet each meal unearthed buried wounds. One evening, as she served venison pie, the aroma hit him like a punch. "Amelia made this," he blurted, fork clattering. Clara paused, her hand instinctively cradling her bump. "Food has a way of bringing back the dead," she replied gently. "My Jeremiah loved my pies too. Gone too soon." Elias shoved back from the table, storming outside into the biting cold. "Don't talk about loss like you know it," he snarled inwardly, pacing the snow-covered porch. But her words lingered, cracking his facade. That night, dreams assaulted him, Amelia's laughter turning to screams as the mountain claimed her. He woke sweating, heart pounding, and found Clara in the kitchen, kneading dough by lantern light. "Can't sleep?" she asked, not looking up. He hesitated, then sat. "The avalanche. It was my fault. I should have checked the slopes better." The confession spilled out, raw and unbidden. Clara listened, her hands steady. "Pain like that don't ask permission," she said. "I lost Jeremiah, and folks say I caused it. Poison, they whisper. But it was the mind's greed, not mine." For the first time, Elias saw her not as a widow of ill repute, but as a mirror to his own torment. A stranger's empathy pierced his isolation, but he pushed it away. "Just cook," he grumbled, retreating again. Yet small victories crept in. One afternoon, a lost hiker, a young boy named Timmy, stumbled upon the cabin during a squall. Clara welcomed him with hot cider, her warmth drawing out the child's chatter. Elias watched from the shadows, envying her ease. "You remind me of my ma," Timmy said, and Clara smiled, sharing stories of her own childhood in Georgia. The boy left safer, but Elias felt the stirrings of envy turn to ache. "Why can't I let go?" he thought, alone in his room. The pain intensified, nights filled with internal battles. "I'm fine alone. I deserve this solitude." But Clara's quiet presence, a hummed gospel tune, a plate left by his door, chipped at his denial, forcing him to confront the void. By chapter's end, as winter deepened, Elias admitted silently, "Maybe I'm not as strong as I pretend." The pain was a companion now, not an enemy to ignore, setting the stage for deeper healing. Spring thawed the mountains, rivers swelling with meltwater that mirrored Elias's thawing heart. Reflection came slowly, like dawn creeping over the peaks. He found himself lingering in the kitchen more, watching Clara chop vegetables with deliberate grace. Her belly had grown, a reminder of life persisting amid ruin. "How do you do it?" he asked one morning, voice gruff but genuine. "Carry on after everything?" Clara set down her knife, wiping her hands on her apron. Reflection, Mr. Thorne. You gotta sit with the hurt, not run from it. She spoke of her own journey, fleeing accusations in the valley, pregnant and penniless, finding solace in faith and small acts of kindness. Elias nodded, her words planting seeds. That day, he ventured to the cross on the hill, not in rage, but in quiet contemplation. "Amelia, I failed you," he whispered, but for the first time, added, "But maybe I can forgive myself." Internal dialogues waged. "You've walled yourself off, Elias. What good is strength if it isolates you?" Interactions deepened the shift. A mentor figure arrived unexpectedly, an old trapper named Harlan, passing through with tales of the wild. Over Clara's fried chicken, Harlan shared wisdom. "Mountains teach us grace, boy. They break you, then rebuild you stronger." Elias listened, Clara's nod encouraging him. "Grace ain't about forgetting," she added softly. "It's about carrying the weight lighter." Harlan's stories of his own losses, a son to fever, echoed Elias's, sparking realizations. We're all broken in some way, Elias thought, a small victory in acknowledging shared humanity. As Clara's due date neared, children from the valley visited, drawn by rumors of the kind widow in the hills. A girl named Lily, orphaned herself, bonded with Clara over baking. Elias observed, his heart softening. One evening, Lily asked him to carve a toy horse. Reluctantly, he did, his hands steady for the first time in years. "It's beautiful," Lily beamed, and Elias felt warmth bloom, a moment of realization that giving healed as much as receiving. Personal growth unfolded in healing moments. During a storm, Clara went into early labor. Panic surged in Elias, memories of Amelia's pregnancy flashing. "I can't lose another," he thought, but instead of freezing, he acted. Fetching the midwife, boiling water, holding her hand through the cries. "Breathe with me," he urged, echoing words Amelia once said to him. The baby, a boy named Jeremiah Jr., arrived squalling, healthy. In that chaos, Elias confronted his trauma head-on. "You taught me grace," he told Clara later, as she cradled her son. "Not just in cooking, but in living." Reflection turned to growth. Elias began small changes, tending a garden with Clara's guidance, sharing meals with visitors, even laughing at the baby's coos. Internal peace settled. The mountain didn't take everything. It left room for renewal. He visited the cross again, this time placing wildflowers. "I'm healing, Amelia. Because of her, because I chose to let in the light." By summer's end, Elias stood taller, his beard trimmed, eyes clear. Clara prepared to leave for the valley, baby in arms. "You don't need me anymore," she said with a smile. Elias hugged her awkwardly, whispering, "You showed me how to forgive myself." As they parted, he watched her descend the trail, a profound sense of self-acceptance washing over him. The cabin no longer felt like a prison, but a home reborn. In solitude, he found emotional peace, not in erasing the past, but in embracing it with grace. Renewal wasn't about forgetting. It was about rising, scar-strong and whole. Moral of the story. In the depths of loss and isolation, true healing blooms not from denial or solitude, but from opening one's heart to unexpected connections. Grace, taught by those who have endured their own storms, reveals the timeless truth that inner strength arises when we forgive ourselves and allow others to light the path to renewal.